We got hards on. We're going to the end.
We get to rest easy. We get to put our heads on our pillows and we get to go to bed as happy little boys and girls because Lando Norris led after lap one. It's a beautiful day. Congratulations all round. I'm doing the champagne bop, but I'm doing it with some Volvic water because I ain't quite got that kind of budget. Those bottles are quite expensive. But I'm doing it. I'm gassed. I'm knee slide. I'm getting carpet burn because ultimately, in a weird way, leading from lap one felt as good as a win. We've been bad downly in the downward direction for a minute now, and we've had our back against the ropes. And I've been swinging Hail Marys, just trying to land something, anything. And it's crazy that we find ourselves in this situation because he actually hasn't been awful. It's just that he hasn't been perfect, and he kind of just needs to have been perfect. There's been little flaws in his game recently, and today it was flawless. Apart from those times where he almost killed me by almost killing himself by locking up his tires, kissing the wall. That was less of a kiss, more of an aggressive. I don't know what to say. But that's later. We got to go through sector 1, 2, and 3, aka rate my quality, the race rundown, then the soft, medium, and hard awards. We're going to go through all of that. Not the most exciting race, but again, here's the thing. I think I might have said that for the last 3 races in a row, right? If you're not going to have exciting races, like in terms of, wow, overtakes, red flag, green flag, yellow flag, black and blue flag, Union Jack flag, any flag you want, you can get them with chucking out flags for free, right? And just exciting things going on. Like when I think about exciting races, because I've kind of started watching the sport in the last 3 years, okay? The go-to one in my mind is stuff like I think it was Monza, and the podium was like, I don't remember the full podium, but I remember Gasly won the race, Stroll was up there, and it was just like this completely backwards race where all this craziness happened. You didn't know who's benefiting from what's going on and who isn't and stuff like that. So aside from those, because now like the cars are competitive in a weird way, like it's not like we have 3 quick teams who are competitive each race. That's the kind of way you would naturally, your brain would go to when you think about competitiveness. It's kind of been like each week a new competitor steps forward and says, I will challenge, and then like a different person steps forward and says, I'm quick now. And that's kind of the way it's been competitive. But either way, it has been, and it's meant that there's been different race winners, and it's meant that there's been narratives, is what I'm trying to say. That was a long-winded way of me saying that there is narratives now, which means you can have boring races, and fortunately, it doesn't matter because it's like, oh, in our head, it's like Lando is closing the gap here, or it's like this is this person's final race. We'll get to that later. They got this inner rivalry in teams now. What does this mean? This and that. And it just means that these races can still be enjoyable even if they're not on track. Okay. If we get into quali, let's rate it. I'm going to give it a strong 7.5 out of 10. I think it had a red flag in it. I mean, I don't think I know. And ultimately, we haven't had a red flag in a quali in a while. I don't usually love a red flag because I'm like, quali is like one of those things where I watch every single one, but sometimes it's like I'm watching it just to get through it. The most important parts of quali is the final 10 seconds of Q3, really, and that's what you really need to see most of the time. So usually a red flag when it's like, oh, I've got to sit here for another 40 minutes, sometimes because of a huge crash, and we've got to fix the tech, bro. It can get long, but to be honest, the wait wasn't that long. It made things interesting. It didn't happen like right towards it, because that's the thing as well. You're working in about 12-minute sections, where it's like, there's a good chance if a red flag comes, it's going to come at a moment where like it actually kills excitement. It actually stops people getting a second running. Actually, that kind of thing. Things stay as they are type stuff. Whereas this happened like with 8 minutes still to go. They put a lot of pressure on. Okay, everyone gets one run, and it made it exciting towards the end. Of everyone's got to try and do the best they can. All these matter. Everyone checking everyone's sectors. That was great. So that was good about it. It was Carlos Sainz who got the red flag, which I like Sainz, but again, like I said this before, he is fodder, bottom of the barrel. If you need someone to throw in there for a red flag or a big person to go out in like Q3 or something, Carlos Sainz is the one you can chuck to the wolves for the betterment of excitement or whatever. Perez is back. Perez is back in Baku. Perez, refound his form. He's back in P13. Yeah, that didn't last long, did it? the Perez thing, and that's going to really rub salt onto the die-hard Daniel Ricciardo fans when they're seeing Perez really underperform. Not that Daniel Ricciardo deserves his seat, because he hasn't shown that, if we're just being honest, but just the fact that he deserves a seat, and yet Perez is re-signing with one of the best teams on the grid. I get the frustration a little bit. I don't do as much copium as them. I am a partaker in copium. I don't do as much as the die-hard Daniel Ricciardo. He's their profile picture or whatever. But I can see where they're coming from. Like, I'm a serenade Daniel later, but just continuing with quali, like Leclerc, the lap time deleted. I love that in a quali when someone's up there and then you just see their name drop, but the commentators haven't noticed it yet, and then it's like, oh, what? No, blah, blah. That's great. Hamilton finally had a good quali. He puts it up on the front row and then just gets knocked down by Max. That's all fair. He's P3. Lando's 4 attempts in front of Piastri, just showing he really has got like a hold of that pace in that car. Because I feel like, yeah, Piastri's had some good weekends and he's won, well, not anymore, but at that point he had won the same amount of races as Lando, which is very impressive, considering Lando has a lot more history of the team in that car and stuff. But that was good. But that was like a bit of a statement type thing. And the main thing I actually want to talk about is Colapinto, because like I can't tell you a thing about Colapinto. Is that even how you pronounce it? I hope so. Right? Like, about his personality, what he's like, where he's came from. I don't actually know what country he's from. That's not what I meant. But just in terms of where did he come from, in terms of what was he doing before Formula One? For all I know, he was flipping burgers. Like, was he in what's it called? F2? Was he in F3? Was he like in like a league over? I don't know what. I've never heard of him before. I still don't know anything about him. I've never really seen an interview of him, really. Like, I don't know what his whole deal is. But he just comes in and he just gets the job done. And, like, he is kind of, in a weird way, just by existing and being at least some kind of a threat to Albon, which he hasn't experienced in years, giving a lot of people the ick on Albon, and a little bit me as well. I feel like, I don't know if I want to get into this now or towards the end, but just the fact that, like, Albon has been threatened in his life. I mean, I would say 90% of Albon's life has been being a victim. That's a bit harsh, but being someone in a corner, going up pretty much at the start of your F1 career, pretty much. I mean, I know who was first in the sister team, whatever, but like against Max and that pressure, and then just to be knocked down and tossed to the side, like that's a hard environment to start off and go into. But since finding his way back in and stuff, he has kind of been George Russell 2.0, and he's like, I feel like it's a real defamation of character. That might not be the right words. No, I think it is. I was mixing it with defecation. Yeah, no, defamation I think is right. In the sense that if you want to get like, what's the phrase? Like character suicide, character assassination, character whatever. Not assassination because it's actually fair. Is go to Williams. Williams will turn you into just kind of like an ick with who drives. Like you kind of just become a bit like Williams is a team you need to be at for like a couple years, and you need to go, because like it happened with George. Like George was the guy. He missed a Saturday, and I remember really liking George when he was at Williams. And then towards the end of it, I didn't like him that much anymore. And I don't know what happened in those final years. And I think it's because you go to Williams maybe as a really grateful person. You're just happy that Williams have taken you under their wing. You're just so grateful to be suckling off the breasts of Williams, right? And then you kind of realize you've got incompetent teammates non-stop, and it makes you look like the dog's Bolarks, right? And you start thinking, I'm the real deal. I basically run this team. And then you start to get into this kind of nerd kind of they start to tell off the engineers in a way that I find really annoying. Like everyone gets on the radio and gets angry with their race engineers or their team principals or whoever they're talking to. I don't even know. Right? They get angry and they shout at people. Why did you do this strategy, Lewis Hamilton? Everyone gets angry, right? But Williams drivers who dominate their teammates start to get a certain tone where it's like, I basically own the team. Like, what? Like, I spoke to you guys about this, and you're still doing it. Like, they're putting on the naughty step. Like, they make all the decisions. They're like, and it just really, I've been noticing it in his tone a little bit, where it's like, okay, you're carrying yourself differently now because you've been beating like Latifi and Sargent for the last few years, and now you think like these people owe you everything. And And it's like, yeah, you have been good, and you've picked up like 6 points or whatever across two, like, but it's just like, I don't know. And now certain things have been happening. I can't remember what happened last week, but it's just like things will happen. Like he'll be overtaken, and he'll jump on the radio like, "What the hell's that all about?" And it's like you just got overtaken, mate. There's no reason. I feel, it happened last race. I can't remember who it was with, and it happened again today. And it's just like Albon. It's not a big like. You haven't. This is the thing. It's actually damaging to you because you go years and years without even experiencing any kind of threat or danger to you. That when it starts to happen again, it's almost like whoa type thing. And you don't even know how to handle yourself. So yeah, I don't know. Just kind of like here's the thing as well. It's like if Albon left and you went to like a Ferrari or someone, and because there was rumors of that at a certain period of time where he went to someone else. I just think Albon's probably better as the underdog guy. Who's like punching up and like proving I'm actually underrated. And now he's the guy, he's the one, and everyone's got to come and shoot for him. I don't know if he fits that role as well, at least for me. Who gives a fuck? He probably doesn't. You know what I mean? Like, what does that even mean? But just the fact that Colapinto gets an amazing start. Crofty's like, wow, that was amazing for Colapinto. He just came from all the way back here, and now he's all the way up there, and that was amazing. And the first thing you hear is Albon jump on the radio like, what the fuck is he doing? What the hell is he doing, man? And it's like, he's overtaking you, mate. I know this hasn't happened to you for literally like 2-3 years now. But this is racing. Remember what this is like? When, you know, it's having a competitive team, mate. You haven't experienced this in ages. But like, this actually wasn't breaking the rules. This was him going in front of you. It's allowed, you know? And his voice even kind of trails off in the radio when he says it. Like, he kind of realizes, oh, I actually have to, like, have a fight on my hands now. Like, and from this guy I've never heard of, I actually kind of rate it from Colapinto. But fairs, we can get into the race rundown now. And to be honest, like I said, it wasn't like the most interesting race or anything. Norris leads lap 1, which I love. But here's the thing, bias can blind you. And just the simple fact that Norris managed to get it over the line. And like my heart, the palpitations. And it's like, I'm so happy that Formula 1 has got into this place for me now. Where I feel this nervous before races sometimes, where like my heart, I can feel it pounding, or like before a race ends, and it's like, because football has always been that for me. That's always been my sport, right? And it's like to find a new one, you know, relatively later in, well, you know, when I say later in life, I just mean like, usually when you love sports, you find them as a child and you carry them with you for life. It's kind of rare you get into a new sport and then love it, like to almost the same deep level as those things you find when you're a kid. But like, to be watching it for 3 years and now to be invested to the point where it's like, boom, 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 because it's like, oh no, if this doesn't happen, the banter, and I put this in the group chat, and I said this, and I put my bollocks online when I defended him here, and I said this guy was better than this guy, and if he doesn't do this for me now, and I really want it to happen because everyone's calling him washed, or this and that, and it's like, you're invested. And it's like, it's a horrible feeling. I'm watching, I'm like, oh my God. Like, I'm praying for the laps just to come down. I want the race to be done. Like, I don't even want to be watching the thing I like watching anymore. Because I just want the result to stay as it is. And that's called being invested. And that is the beauty of sport, mate. And I'm at that point now with Formula 1. And for a race like how it was today, for me, being a Lando guy, it was good stuff. Fastest lap was kind of like the funnest part of the race, which is kind of shows how boring it was a little bit. I wasn't never really bored watching it, but I could see as a neutral, I could see that. But just like how it was like, oh, is he going to get it? There was a conversation, because sometimes so much of Formula 1 is just like, it's not even foreplay, it's just like sexting. It's just like the idea of what could happen. It's like, oh, maybe Lando will try and create a gap, and then maybe he'll pit and then go for the fastest lap. But then what if he pits and like the wheel nut gets stuck or something? Maybe he won't. Maybe he's just going to stay up. Maybe he's going to try and set a fastest lap actually on the tyres he's currently on. He's going to try and do that. But now Magnussen's just going to go in now, and he's going to try and set a fast. And it's like, there's all this stuff, like all of this speculation type stuff is more fun than what actually happens in real life, which is kind of just usually the not the most interesting outcome. And then the Daniel Ricciardo of it all coming through, and his connections between Lando and Max, and it being his final race. And it's just like, all the storylines of it is what makes it so good, and like having that context is just great. But yeah, that was good stuff. Another bit of that, Colapinto is in so much of this. He is getting so much airtime right now. It's crazy. He's kind of main character, can't lie. But you know, Perez again. I'm gonna do some more Perez slander. He's behind Colapinto. Jumps on the radio. What does he say? Wow, this Colapinto guy is really good. Colapinto, wow, this guy is really amazing. And it's like, convenient. You're stuck behind him. That's when if you ever want to hear drivers wax lyrical about someone, just put them 10 laps behind that driver. It's sort of Hamilton vibes with Norris when I can't remember, I don't know what race it was, how long ago it was, but he was like, wow, Lando, amazing driver, Lando, wow, that guy is so good. Or like when Hamilton is like stuck behind the McLarens, or like you get overtaken by like a Red Bull and you're just like, damn, what a rocket ship, man. Like, it's just like, what can I do? My hands behind my back. That thing is like barely legal. It's amazing what they're driving. Or like you're stuck behind this like rookie kid who's like only in for like 4 more races and we may never see him again. And then you're just thinking, oh, the team are probably thinking, Perez, you're meant to be like the guy. Perez, what a legend. You're meant to be like, I'm Checo type thing. And this is some, who is he? And I've been behind him. The team are probably thinking, how have I not got past him yet? Guys, amazing driver. Just so you know, the guy I'm stuck behind, very good. Type thing. So it's like pretty convenient. A couple decent radios this race. I feel like a couple decent radios. Because I got a few more to talk about. But do I need to talk about that? I'll get to that later. George Russell gets on the radio. I don't know what was happening in his race. Just jumps on and goes, need a bit of encouragement, if you wouldn't mind. Guys, I'm getting low on confidence. Bit of encouragement, please top me up. And it's like, no problem, George. Got great bone structure, washboard abs, love it, mate. You are 10 times better than Lewis Hamilton. Always have been. We've always thought that. Kimi will always be your number 2, George. We back you for life. And then George is like, boom, and he just like, that's like the speed boost he needs. It's just crazy to like ask for that positive affirmation. Just ask for that boost, that armor on your shoulder, because typically you'd think that would only work with it being like a placebo thing, with it being like them doing it to you naturally. It's funny to be like, I'm the kind of person who needs that positive reinforcement, but like consciously saying that and then getting it and it's still working. And I know that he was probably saying that and he was just being like, tell me about the tires, tell me about lap times. I know, just let me have my fun in my made up fairy tale world, please. Just stop killing the fun. Another radio. Yuki Tsunoda. The Yuki Tsunoda, I can't tell because the radio quality is crap sometimes. But did he just call like his team radio guy a dumbass at some point? Like when he was trying to get past Ricciardo, and like there was one point where it cut to Yuki's radio and he just was screaming. And I'm someone who defends Yuki and says he's actually not as immature as people say. I still stand by that. This was just a funny example where if people wanted to try and debate me and prove me wrong, they would use this as an example, right? And like it just cuts back to Yuki for when like Crofty and them are talking. It cuts back and you just hear Yuki like, nah! Like he's just like yelling. It's like he's just like he doesn't even know what to say. He's just letting out loudage. I don't know. You know what I'm trying to say. And then they're like, Yuki, you know how we do things. You catch up to him and he will let you pass. Close and then we pass. And then Yuki yells something like, yeah, but you're killing my tires here, dumbass. You're killing my tires here, dumbass. That's what he says on the radio. And it's just like, look, in the competitive world of sport, when we're getting down to business, I might say some things to you. I don't mean it, I might be a little bit rude. I might use some colourful language, You won't do that to me, but, I'm the one in the high-pressure situation. I'm the one in the boiling coffin going at 200 miles per hour, whatever. Sorry if I get a little bit hangry on the radio, That's all fine, but I just can't have it all, because whenever you hear the people on the radio getting, like, berated, dumbass, or you idiot, why'd you put me on this strategy? You stupid little man, right? I just can't imagine they're just there with like their head in their hands a little bit, just like, because they never reply. You never hear them say anything back, apart from like maybe GP sometimes. And they're just like, it's like they're probably sitting there after like going to uni, getting like real good degrees in engineering, and they're like all pretty geniuses in their own field and right. And then you just got like some like 22-year-old and he's like, dumbass, and they're just sitting there just like, yeah. Come on, Yuki, and then you got to cheer them on and still wish for the best and like not pray for their downfall. It's just funny. I guess it's just a funny acknowledgement. There had some people like doing like dummy calls. I noticed like trying to like get people to pit or not lie between Piastri and Russell, between Leclerc, and because they were saying like, oh, the amount of times the Ferrari have run in and out of the pit. This is when Ted Kravitz is making his terrible jokes, as he does when he's down there on the pit wall or whatever. And it's like Ferraris were running in and out of that thing like crazy. And it's like, genuine question. Has a dummy call ever worked? Of course it has at some point. But like, how long ago? When was it? Was it even recently? Should I remember this? Did they ever work? Because the amount of times everyone puts on their grade A, everyone goes for their Oscars. Let's all pretend like we're going to run out and do a pit stop. And then they just walk back and it never works. It never works, these dummy calls. But yeah, I see them almost every week. Everyone's like, we're getting a bit bored here. Hey, should we just try and like pull a little crazy prank? Should we just try and like, let's just go, and then just sprint outside and then just walk back in seconds. Like, and I've never seen it be tricked in recent times. Anyway, I actually think I do remember one. It was kind of like in maybe Hamilton dominating towards the end of it era. Like when I first started watching, I feel like I can maybe remember one now I think about it. But like, yeah, they come off very rarely. What else happened in this race? George. It's like a sauna in here. Another one of his radios. But to be honest, I've not been in a sauna. They're meant to be quite relaxing. So not the best analogy, George. Sorry, yeah, I wrote that down literally just because I wanted to berate you, George. Not the best analogy. And then apart from that, in terms of actual race stuff that happened, Lando locks up. Lando almost gets to a grinding halt and then just about turns the car and continues on. More than kisses the wall. Like, Magnussen done far less from what I could see anyway from the replay. And got a puncture. And it's just like, oh my God. Like, it just, every time my heart got back to a normal rate, he would do something like that. And it would just scare the shit out of me. But he was lucky none of them led to anything bad. Can we just imagine? I'm really like this sometimes. Like, sometimes bad things very nearly happen. And I can't just shake it. Like, I'm now living in the reality for a good while after it, like, that near reality happens. And I'm living in that, alternate universe. Just like, oh my God, but imagine if that did happen though. Like, how bad that would have, like, my bike got stolen once. I left it locked up and it got stolen. But I got it back not because I went back and saw the bike was gone and then spoke to someone and I managed to get AirTag or whatever. No, I was walking unaware that my bike had just been stolen. Probably about 5 minutes prior because I hadn't went to the scene of the crime and seen it yet. But I was walking and I saw my bike. And I was like, I think that's my bike. I then approached the person after examining the bike for a while because I was in a place where I could do that before they would be able to get away. They was walking with the bike. They wasn't on it. So I could like examine it. Oh, that's got the same little nick. And like, then I approached them. I was like, hey man, I think that's my bike. I'm not being aggressive because in this point, I don't actually know if it's my bike. I'm just like 90% sure, but that 10% is eating you a little bit. And then this guy just is gaslighting me. And I'm kind of buying it a little bit, but I'm also like, no, that's almost definitely my bike. But this guy's telling me it's not. And I don't want to look like an idiot and they go back and my bike actually is still just there locked up. So he gaslights me for about 20 minutes. I said that's my bike for about 20 minutes. And why the fuck am I talking about this? What the fuck has this got to do with anything? Lando locks up. Goes into the wall. It's bad. Giving me heart palpitations. It's getting worse. What? How did this connect? It's going worse. He locks up. It keeps reminding me. Oh, every single time I think it's comfortable, it reminds me. Oh, no, it's not. Oh my God, yes. Oh my God, I had to think just in silence. I was never going to be able to do it while hearing my stupid monotone voice just rambling on. So, yeah, so Magnussen locks up and it gives you that reminder. I get stuck in living in the universe where the bad thing happens. So yeah, I got the bike back eventually and I was like, that's my bike. But then I was like really happy. It was actually a very lucky day. Because even though something unlucky happened, the chances of seeing it and all those things lining up, like every single thing I did, every movement I did from that point to line me up perfectly with seeing, just crossing it again like that. That's actually more lucky than it not getting stolen at all, right? But like, as happy as I was and just really like, oh wow, that's so lucky. I was just like also just in this state of just like 50 odd just like thinking like, but But imagine it did get stolen, and like, imagine how annoyed and disappointed I would have been in myself for locking it in that place where I shouldn't have locked it, because it's just an area where a bike would get stolen. And like, it was a shit lock. And I was just like, imagine I went there and like, after I did my food shop and I go back to my bike and there's just no bike there and it's just the lock on the ground. And like, I just couldn't stop like living in the scenario where that did happen, even though it didn't. And I was just like, oh man, that would have been so bad. You know what I mean? So it's like, even though those things didn't, I was just stuck in like oh my god, but if Lando actually did though, like if he actually had just binned it there, and like Lando's ahead by 25 seconds, but then randomly on the 45th lap or something, it just cuts and was like, oh! And Lando has just looked up and went straight into a wall. He finally got lap 1 right. He needs to win this race. Everyone says he's overrated and shit. PSG's way better. And then that happens. Just, oh my god. Like, just how bad that would have been, man. I'm just so grateful and happy that did not happen. But just that, and I'll talk about that actually more a little bit when I start talking about the cool down room, because that just made me think about it again. But just, I got eyelash in my eye. This happens all the time. But just, man, oh my god, they were just like little windows into ultimate realities I did not want to see. Just, yeah, you know. I think that's everything I actually want to talk about from the race. So I guess we can get into the soft, medium, hard awards. I guess Ted Kravitz, just on him real quick. God, I hope you definitely can't. The race is so loud. There's a crowd. You got like helmets on. It's so loud down there. You can't hear shit. But Ted Kravitz was screaming down the microphone when I think Gasly had a slow stop. He came in and had a slow stop. And I'm going to do it to the same volume he did it, so just watch your ears. But it's like, Gasly's coming in for a stop, Gasly's coming in, oh, slow, stop, slow! And it's just like, oh, can you imagine, right, this high-pressure situation, you've got to make this work. To be fair, Gasly's not fighting for anything major here, but it's like, I've got to nail this. I've got to get this stuff right. And then you don't, and it's like, oh, we worked so hard for this, it's kind of my fault, maybe, because I didn't hit it right or whatever. And then you can just hear, like, Ted almost celebrating in the background, having a word over the, whoa, slow, stop, whoa, and you're just there, like, in the pits, like, this is, like, real, there's highs and lows of sport, this is a real low, and then you just got Ted, like, Ted is, like, one of the last people I'd want to hear or see, when I'm, like, at my worst, you know, in a high-pressure situation, but that's the last of it, to be fair, on race-related stuff that I wanted to bring up, so, yeah, I don't really rate the races. It was an okay race. I was more just happy because of my emotional, whatever the word is, attachment. Cool down room was kind of funny. They got Piastri. Piastri's in there. Like, he's well aware of, I guess, the podcast memes and just the fact that this is aired and people are interested, I guess. Like, he's in there asking genuine questions. He's like, Lando, without swearing, how did it feel when you almost... It's like, oh, damn, actually... We probably would want to hear that. It's like having a real interviewer in the room. Like, he's asking the questions people want to hear. But the crazier part for me was like Max's reaction when he sees like how close Lando was to binning it and just ruining his entire life. And it's like, Max is like, oh shit! Like, because this guy almost, like, from Max's point of view, Lando just had a stellar, flawless race. He finished like 20 seconds ahead. He previously just made a joke about how he thought that he was going to get lapped by Lando. Joke. But you know what I mean? Like, he's thinking Lando just had a crazy car. He did a really good job, was so far ahead. Nothing, not a single bad thing happened. And I'm just watching that back with zero knowing that happened, right? And you see him almost drive directly into a wall. And like, they're all laughing at it and he's like, I shit myself. It's like, it is so crazy to laugh at something so bad almost happening. It's like, again, another story. I remember I had a guinea pig once, and then my dog didn't go to eat it, but like, it was just being curious, and like, it kind of looked like it was about to basically bite its head off, but it didn't, and everyone laughed and moved on. And I was just like, sat there, cross-legged, like, oh my god, imagine if the dog bit the guinea pig's head off. Everyone's screaming. Should we put the dog down? It's blood's everywhere. I'm holding the dog. I'm like, no, I like the dog, but I liked the guinea pig, and then now I feel like I can't like the dog because the dog just kind of... I'm just like... And you just get stuck spiraling. It's like, to watch... Like, Lando Norris would have been incredibly depressed, just sunken into himself. Like, if he had to go into like another little break, like 2 weeks off, after just doing that, how would your mental even be? And then just watch it back, the moment of his almost demise, and they're just like, I almost shit myself then, you know. It's just like, that's just crazy to me. But anyway, soft medium hard awards. Soft, I'm going to give to Albon for the reasons I said before. What the hell are you doing? He's overtaken you, mate. He's actually a second driver who's competent, you know. And to be honest, I can't wait. And to be honest, he's gonna have to go against Sainz next year. And I don't think Albon's gonna walk Sainz. I don't think Sainz is gonna walk Albon. But it's gonna make things a whole lot more interesting. I think it's been needed for a long time now because you should not be allowed to just coast in this sport. And too many times I think you can go to Williams and just coast. Like, I think, like, obviously going to RB is the better move. I go to RB, if I do things right, there's a shot at getting in that Red Bull seat for Daniel Ricciardo, right? But, like, in terms of longevity, it is so safe to, if it was available, just go to the Williams and, like, you can do a mid job and just coast there as a driver and just get to still be in the sport. You could say a similar thing about, like, going to, like, a Visa Cash App, I guess, if there's a space there. You could argue that's what Bottas does, but also the car's just so not competitive that you don't really know. But you get to just go there basically and do your thing. Like Alfa Romeo, Kimi Räikkönen, you can just go to certain teams and just coast. But as someone who is like Albon, as like, you know, a younger guy, I just don't like that. That has been the case actually. Now I think about it for him, or for even like Russell, and either move out of that team and move up, or get a better teammate because I just don't like that. I don't think it's good for you as a driver and getting better. Your personality and how you start to carry yourself. So I'm happy that Sainz is going to be his teammate. Sorry, Albon. I'm an Albon guy as well, but look, I'll rate my own guys. Medium, I'm going to give to Lando, because although he did literally everything right this time, he led from lap 1, he won the race, he put it on pole, he was 4 times ahead of his teammate. He done everything right apart from keeping my blood pressure down. Because Jesus Christ, man, I can't stand when I'm watching the race and there's someone you really need to do well, and then the commentator sees something before you do, and they're like, "Oh, someone's went off," and you're like, please don't let it be, no, don't let it be this person." And then you see your orange car sometimes. You're like, "Oh God, I like you, Piastri, but please let it be Piastri. I like you, Piastri, but please." Like, that is the worst. Like, scared. Like, oh, yeah, just before you find out situation you can have. And the hard award, yeah, I'm gonna be a soppy, sentimental arsehole. I'm giving it to Daniel Ricciardo, but not just because I'm just giving it to him because this is his last race. Yes, but also Daniel Ricciardo goes out. He's like in 18th anyway. They tried the soft thing. Hamilton did the same thing. That strategy didn't work for either of them. Anyone who started on the softs. He was starting in P16 anyway. Even he was a bit ahead, Yuki still didn't get points. There never was going to be this fairy tale ending for him anyway. He stopped. He goes for the soft tyre to get the fastest lap, which Lando had before that. So he's actually very largely contributing kind of to the title fight here. Like, it probably won't happen this way. But if somehow, I don't think Lando will close this gap, but if somehow, like, the championship was decided by 1 point, I mean, just wow. If you're going to eventually write, like, an autobiography or something, to have your say in something like that in your final race is just crazy. But, like, the fact he did that, and I think him and Lando actually do get on quite well. I know they spent time for each other on holiday and stuff, but, like, Max is his first boo, you know, and everyone thinks that, you know, there was never animosity there. It was more just like, I want to be the big dog. I'm not sure how I feel about this type of thing, and it split. But they get on really well. And like I said, that's his first flame, right? And like, not that he did it for Max, but just to do it in general, to like step out and be like, I'm going to have a say here. Like, to be in P18 in the sister Red Bull team and to step out and like create something, an added storyline, and added like your own little flavor in like the pot, and create something out of nothing is a reason why I'm such a Daniel Ricciardo guy. I'm such a Danny Rick guy. You like, because although people get annoyed with like the flipping people off and drawing dicks on his back, and he's way too childish for someone his age or whatever, does he even really care? It's like, he does care. You see in the interview, he gets emotional and stuff. Like, you've known that cockpit, you've known that snug feeling, and regardless of what team it is, the seat is molded to you, and you know that, you know, in the base of who you are for such a long period of time. And he creates moments out of dire races, out of boring parts of the season, out of bad form. You know, they thought I left, I never left, and he manages to make your hair stand up, you know, and get you excited and get you on the edge of your chair. And there's other drivers who just don't do that. And I think people like Daniel Ricciardo are important to have. And I think he's probably got so many people into the sport. I think he's a great one of the faces of the sport. He's achieved so much in it as well already. I think that he's not nowhere near one of the worst drivers, obviously, in the sport, but it's just how things go, and there's younger people coming through. And for it to end like this, for them not just to be transparent about the fact that it's obviously probably his last race. I know like he could run another team and stuff, but then for them to be so coy about it all made it kind of weird. But like, I just like the fact that Daniel Ricciardo got to at least bow out and like have his own little stamp on things and like have some authority of the situation in a very Daniel Ricciardo way as well, and which I think sums up like him so well with how he went out. So Daniel Ricciardo, he's been one of my guys, one of my main three since I've got into it. I have to salute him. I have to do that. Danny Rick, what a guy. Going into the next race, not sure where it is. Again, I'll actually search that up for you. I should really remember to do that. But, you know, I just had to have my little speech there for Ricciardo because I saw him get emotional towards the end in his interview, and I just thought, Daniel's my guy, man. It's like, he didn't do enough. He had to come in and dominate Tsunoda for that Perez seat. He didn't. He came in and was kind of bad, and then kind of went up to just doing a good job, sometimes beating him, sometimes not type thing. And he was doing a fine job there. So I'm not saying he deserved the Perez seat, like real hardcore copium heads will be saying that. But like, there's people in this sport who are doing, you know, nothing. And it's just kind of the scenario in where they get to stay and you go out. Like, Perez is so far off Verstappen non-stop. And it's just like, you re-sign. And he's done good stuff in the past, I get it, but like, he's just doing nothing. And I don't care who gets the seat instead of him, but just like, you know, you look at some of the other teams, like that Sauber team, both of those drivers really. You look at maybe someone like Magnussen. I'm not sure who has signed and re-signed, but just like, it's how the cookie crumbles. And yeah, the next race is United States. Dan, you would have loved it. You would have loved it, mate. I'm not sure if that's the is that the Texas one? Yeah, and then you got Las Vegas. You would have loved both, Daniel. You would have loved both. But yeah, I'll see you then. I think there's a little break till then, 20th of October, about a month from now. But we got hards on. We're going to the end. Daniel Ricciardo, you're a bloody legend, mate.